No, not right now. We still have a presentation from Edson. He will be presenting two important species that have to be helped. Thank you, Edson. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Edson. I'm a zookeeper and nature project collaborator, so I work on conservation projects. And today I'd like to talk to you about two species, a spider and a salamander, and the different threats upon them, and a few key takeaways. So first of all, when I'm talking about salamander, European salamander, which species do you think about? Do we have any? So yes, indeed, the dotted salamander, it's the most famous with the beautiful spots, yellow spots. But there's another salamander that is quite confidential. It has been mentioned during one of the presentations of the day. What is its name? Indeed, exactly, the black salamander. It's a gothic beauty here. So this salamander can be found in the Alps, but also in Croatia, some remote populations in some countries. In Switzerland, there's a good amount of these salamanders. We have 70% of the species that is located in Switzerland. So why is it different? Well, because it lives in the mountain. This salamander lives, at least most of the individuals of the species have been found between 800 and 2,000 meters high, which is very specific because the spotted salamander can be found between 200 and 1,400 meters, but the two populations can still be found at the same place. It's very difficult to find it also. It is quite discreet. Obviously, the color can scare away predators, but it's difficult to find. It can be understood. So, how does it do it? Two major alterations that allow it to live in the specific area. First of all, the babies are born with limbs. They're born in streams, and they have their metamorphosis, but during the gestation part, well, they are born as a tiny salamander, but exactly with the same limbs, meaning that it is now free from water, which makes it very special. And the second adaptation is obviously the black color, which allows it to absorb more heat in the mountains. It is a bit trapped by its own habitat. It's considered first as a least concerned, so there's no real priority on its conservation. But there's some anticipation work to do, because one of the threats, for example, for these salamanders is the climate change. With warmer winters, we could have an impact on their survival rate. And then if we have warmer summers, there will be less activity and less feeding, less breeding, and thus less survival. And there were modeling that were done, they were carried out, and that told us that by 2070 there could be a major decline in the population. Still, as of today, it is least concern. Why? Because the IUCN status is changing, but not as fast as the reality goes. And obviously, let's not forget about the pathogen we've mentioned, which is based right now in which you can find mainly in Germany, so quite closely. This is a disease that causes skin lesions, peeling skin, and can lead to death. Now, the second animal I wanted to mention is a spider. It's quite unique. It's the aquatic argyronet. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's quite special. Why? Because it has been able to free itself from earth, from the soil, because it lives only in water. I will. There are subtitles, but I will keep talking for the translation to keep going. So we have the spiders; they can go anywhere, but even underwater. So you can see this is the only spider that lives underwater. How does it do it? Two main techniques are used. First of all, it creates a bubble of water around the abdomen. It is captured at the surface thanks to hydrophobic hairs. This gives it the ability to hunt underwater. It eats mainly, its diet is mainly composed of larvae, and so it's really useful for the ecosystem. And it also makes nets that are waterproof. And the spider net is also able to renew its oxygen by itself. The web is able to do it. So the web breathes on its own, but from time to time the spider has to replenish the oxygen. In this web, they can live, they can breathe, they can eat, and they only go back up when they need oxygen, and sometimes for hunting. Most of the life of the spider is thus happening underwater, but it has the exact same features as a normal spider. But this is your unique spider, the argyronet, the only water spider that we know of. Okay, this slide was just in case the video wouldn't work, so I think the video was still better than just the slide. So you can see here the bubble. Well, this spider, now the distribution of this spider, you can see this region in red is the Paleoarctic ecozone, which is also there in Switzerland. So this is really the kind of places you can find these spiders. So nutrient-poor ponds, slow-moving streams, and we all know that this kind of habitats are endangered because of drought, but also of pollution. So these spiders on the IUCN red list are not even there. There's no red list for spiders. So I think it is quite sad. Of course, there is a bias there because some people do not really like spiders. So we have to really advocate for placing these animals on the lists and go beyond the phobias. So for the moment, it has no official status, but it might disappear. It might go extinct in the current situation. So my key takeaway would be really, please let's anticipate the situation before it goes wrong. Let's not wait and wait for an animal to become in danger before we act. That's what we've seen in neighboring countries. No, we have to act before. So I would like to invite you, if you have a garden at home, maybe could you build a hibernaculum? What is that? So this is something that you can find naturally, that is the safe haven for amphibians and reptiles. That's where they would hide during the winter. And you can create a similar place in your garden for these animals. just need to find a few stones, a few rocks, and then you dig a hole that is 50 centimeters. It has to be quite deep because if it's not enough, they won't be protected from cold, and then you will not fill entirely the hole, but you will fill it with logs, branches, bricks, and so on, so that it acts as a safe haven for these animals. You can also add plants and so on because it will attract bees and others. So it's quite interesting also in the spring to help these insects. And then in the winter, you will have reptiles and amphibians taking refuge in these spaces. So if you are interested in such an idea, I've printed this slide and I also have it in French. So you can come up to the stage and take some of these sheets I've printed for you. Well, this was my presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much, Edson. I see that we already have a question here. Yes, indeed. I have a question on your spider. I'm sorry, I've forgotten the name of it. Why is it more endangered or threatened than other living beings from these ponds? It is not more vulnerable. It's just that there is an existing bias towards certain species, and spiders tend to be forgotten. Conservation actions might focus a bit too much on species rather than habitats. So if you don't think and don't focus enough on spiders, they are not protected. So we also have to protect their prey because they might disappear just because of droughts and so on. But indeed, you're right. All the species linked with these ponds, lakes, and so on are endangered. Just a more general question on the alpine salamander. We've heard the issue. Pasuyens is living in a tiny ecosystem, Rails too. So these species do not breed much, so they will disappear on the midterm, right, with the climate change. So I think this is the perfect situation for an ex situ conservation. For these species, I really think that these species should be conserved ex situ. This is the kind of program that is needed, and we have the example that we've seen with the alpine newt, and I'm quite astonished to see that there's no real actions taken for this newt. We know that by 2070 there will be a major decline for all these species. So I would really like to call upon the managers of these conservation programs. We need ex situ conservations for these species. You're right, good comment. Do we have any other questions? Thank you very much, Edson.